Black Rock Hut. Last night, tremendous amount of wind. I was kind of worried about the blowdown situation. This is the actual hut itself. It's got a couple of bare poles here. I was in here with a group of 4. I'll talk more about that. I had to climb out about 0.2 or 0.3, and now I'm on a downhill, and as you can see, the trail is pretty tight here, but it's nice. Not too much in the way of rocks and roots. One other thing I'll point out is these things are all over the place, and basically the trail maintainers put these in, and they might be logs or rocks, but it's pretty basic. The whole idea is to divert all the rain that comes down and push it off the trail to prevent it from becoming a big mudslide. I think it was 62 degrees when I got up about a little after 6. Turned on the weather forecast. Looks pretty good for today. But boy, it's another day. It's like spring, but pretty decent visibility today. Yesterday was blowdown alley for a chunk. I mean, I was on my hands and knees a couple of times, crawling under stuff and fighting to get through and around, and you know, a few nicks and scratches here and there, and it's just one of those days that, you know, just didn't ever want to end, but finally it kind of cleared up, and hopefully I have a pretty decent day here. When I got into Black Rock Hut last night, and I noted a tent setup, a tent just like mine, copper spur, big Agnes, 2-man. And 2 ladies popped out, and they said, we're moving in this shelter. We just heard a weather forecast. They were talking about 40-mile-an-hour gusts. So anyway, I looked around, found a place to set my tent up that looked like it would be the less of the areas where trees would come down. But I must say, during the night, the wind was howling, and I wasn't exactly in a tense spot that was designated at the site, because I wanted to pick a better area. Couldn't even get some of the stakes in the ground for the tent, but I used some of the lines and loops and rocks to secure it, and it did okay during the night. I went over and talked to these ladies. 2 ladies, a mom and daughter team from Morehead City, North Carolina, which all the Marines know. Not too far away from Camp Lejeune, and that's where you get on and off the ships. But she was a Navy corpsman for 5 years, and she's out here with a 20-year-old daughter. And trail name was Cinnamon, and the mom's name was Doc Awesome. And they told me that came because she treated some guy who had a bad gash or something to that end down in Georgia. They had hiked from Georgia to Neal's Gap, and they had to get off the trail for a family emergency. So they decided to get back on the trail up in Rockfish Gap and then go north and then go back and fill in the piece that they didn't have to do. But it was great to see them out here. They seem to be enjoying themselves, having some great mom-daughter bonding experience. After I got on the site, a couple of young guys came in. One guy's trail name, I think, I'll confirm it tonight because I'll see him at the shelter I'm heading, is Ice Walker, and the other guy's name is Snake Eyes. And I noted when they sat down, one of them had a water bottle that said Eagle Scout, and I said, hey, you guys you an Eagle Scout? And he says, yeah, we both are. So it was pretty cool to see 2 Eagle Scouts that are well versed in the woods out here hiking. Ice Walker is on spring break. He goes to school in Florida, and Snake Eyes is getting ready to go to a fire school or fire academy. So they have an opportunity to come out and hike in the Shenandoah. They did a big day yesterday. They did like 21 or 22 because I guess they skipped the shelter. Everybody got out ahead of me as usual, but that's okay. So it's usually pretty simple when you come out to a crossing. You just look for where the post is on the other side, and there's really no other option to get on the trail. I'll put a plug in for that Black Rock Mountain with all the rocks that I showed you yesterday. It's really awesome, and you can park pretty close to a hike. Nice gentle incline. I'm going up here. Still a beautiful day, sun's out. And this isn't too big a climb. It's probably hard to see, but just a gradual climb as I move up the trail. Now I'm wearing my short sleeve shirt and my shorts, which is hiking gear when it's 95 degrees out. It's 62 this morning. I don't know if it's warmed up at all, but it is just a magnificent day out here. I'm about 7.8 in. I just came from that way. I'm on a piece of high ground here, and I'm going this way. I just wanted to show you this. This is, well, it's not, you can't see it now, but this is indicative of why people call the AT the Green Tunnel. Because when the vegetation comes, we're not going to see much of the views around us here. We're going to see a bunch of green forest. To pass the time here and to ease the pain, I've been listening to an audio book. I checked a couple out of my local library, the Central Rappahannock library system that services Fredericksburg and other areas and all that. So shout out to them. We have a... Oh. Alrighty, fall number 2. Caught my foot on something there. I'll pay attention. I'm not going to look at my mug. I'm going to watch the trail. So shout out to the Central Rappahannock Library. We have a branch right up the street from where we live called the Porter Library. And they have a nice collection, but they've got a ton of ebooks and audio books and magazines that you can check out electronically. So I checked out a short story, a novel by David Baldacci. I checked out a 4-hour, so this is a mini book. Neil deGrasse Tyson book, Astrophysics for People Who Are Busy. And it's about 4 hours, and he narrates it, so it's wonderful to listen to. The first chapter made my head explode like the Big Bang Theory. And he's been having all kinds of discussions about formations of galaxy, cosmic microwave background, you know, millions and brilliance of seconds and all that. And it's quite fascinating. I couldn't pass a test after listening to this, even if it was a multiple choice. But it's pretty interesting stuff. Just listen to him, and I gotta admit, his dumbass stupor at you. When I used to hear the word cosmology, I always thought of like cosmetology. What a dummy. But anyway, Neil deGrasse Tyson has mentioned cosmology quite a bit because that's his field. Fall number 2, you got to witness it, and hopefully I don't have any more for a while. I heard about this detour coming up. That white blaze right there would take us up to the trail, put us on the way to the shelter, but there's a big power line I remember crossing, and apparently there's construction on that. So as you can see from the sign, the AT used to run underneath these power lines and go into the woods. We got routed all the way around. That was the downhill part up the hill there that I came down. I don't know, I'm guessing it might be about a mile. And there's the sign up ahead that will put me back into the woods. Not exactly what I wanted at the end of my day, but it's okay. And I'm really bummed too, because my wifey, aka Panic, is gonna be in the Rockfish Gap area tonight. So I'm gonna mosey on up and get into Calf Mountain Shelter, and I'll show you that. That's the actual last shelter in the Shenandoah. It's called a shelter, not a hut, because technically it's off of the national park property.